This all started because of this. The quality control in these pedals falls short for the very high price tag. Could do better. Now replacement axles have just arrived, and it's not for the wobbly axle, that's already been fixed in the last video. There is another potential problem, and in this video we're going to investigate the right hand pedal and see why I can't undo the right hand axle's nut. It appears to be cross-threaded. In that previous video on these pedals, I talked about the accessories and the customization options you can have with these pedals, which, to give credit, there is a lot, and they're pretty good too. But along the way, during the making of that video, and fixing the left-hand pedal by dismantling the spare pedal Magped sent over, dismantling that pedal was not my intention, it was just meant to be a straight swap, but like the rest of this pedal story, the unexpected happened. The spare pedal turned up, promptly put it next door to this, and there's a colour mismatch. It was grey instead of black. Now, I informed Magped and they wanted me to send that pedal back to them at my own cost and send out another one. Well, I thought, that's a bit off. So I decided to do the opposite. I decided to remove the axle from the spare pedal and swap it with this bent pedal, a much better solution, and it didn't cost me anything. But more unexpected things popped up during the dismantling of said pedals. And this led me to look at the right hand pedal just to check if all the things were okay in that pedal which I was finding in the left hand pedal. So here are the quality issues I was experiencing along with my concerns. That last item on the list, the bearing seals, was a concern at the time because I could not see any seals. There appeared to be nothing down here to stop dirt and water getting into the actual shaft cavity, staying there and just corroding the bearing out. So what's new? Why am I making a second video? Well, as promised in the last video, I said I would make a second video on these pedals once I had received a new set of axles from Magped, along with a replacement axle for what I believe to be a cross-threaded axle nut, and that's what we're going to investigate today. By the way, I did pay for those spare axles as a way to pay less to get the pedals fixed. And you're thinking, why might you want to do that? That is because, again, Magped wanted me to pay my own postage to return the faulty pedals back to them along with all the accessories. And really, I do not think that is very good customer service when it's not your fault, it's Magped's fault. But I will give credit to Magped and Harold. They are very good at responding to emails and sending out new parts promptly. It's just that they seem a bit indifferent to the fact that these pedals cost a lot of money to buy, and on top of that, UK import duty of 25%. They expect you then to send them back and only get the refund for the original order, and so making expensive pedals even more expensive with no added value to me. And to add further expense to ensure trust, I would also have wanted to insure that package as it was posted back to Germany to make sure nothing got lost and I didn't lose any money. So you may be asking, why am I continuing to do this? Why am I pursuing this? Why I am fixing my own pedals, my brand new pedals, and just not returning them with all the accessories is because I reasoned if I bought new axles at some cost, that would be cheaper than sending everything back and have no pedals at all. In addition, by having spare axles, I have some added value. They would be useful down the line if I clouted the pedals on rocks, bending the axles. Weird logic, I know, but cheaper logic, if you get what I mean. And the main reason I wanted to continue on this little saga is because I want those pedals to help my ankle recover from being broken. Now, Harold told me how to order the spare pedals as they're not specifically listed on their spare parts page. I placed the order for the spare axles at €46. And then another unexpected thing happened again. But this time it was actually a good unexpected thing. Harold emailed me to say he would refund €35 off to €46 for those axles. So the axles have arrived. I've got a left and a right. I just don't have the third one I requested. Now, if you've not gathered already, this is what a Magped looks like. There are two round discs embedded in the pedal, and those are the magnets. Those magnets get attracted to a metal plate on the bottom of your shoe. You just remove the SPD cleats that you might have had in there, replace them with the metal plates that come with the pedals. Now, not these plates, because these are extra strong, slightly thicker plates from Magped for the 200 Newton meter magnets. Now this right hand pedal came in the original order. In the beginning, looking at it, there's nothing wrong with it. There's no reason to dismantle it. It looks okay. The axle feels perfectly smooth. It actually feels very, very nice. But what I wanted to know, and as I said in the first video, why can't I undo it? It was so easy on the left hand pedal and the spare pedal that Magped sent me. I did try to do it at the time, but I was sure I was going to break something, so I left it alone, put the pedal back together, and waited for the spare axle to turn up. Now that they have turned up, I'm going to check the right hand axle, and before I start, I have already checked that the right hand axle has a reverse thread to normal threads. A reverse thread is a way to stop the nut unwinding itself by the natural rotation of the pedal as you're riding along. And this is confirmed by the spare axles I bought from Magped. And this one turns anti-clockwise to wind off, and this one turns clockwise to turn off. So I have here the brand new right hand pedal. Now at this stage I just could leave this alone and carry on, but this is a video and I want to also see if this thing is really cross-threaded. So let's see what we can do. Put some wood in there to protect the pedal. 6mm Allen key in this end, an 8mm nut. But first I need to take out the end cap, take out the adjuster nut. And no, I haven't pre-loosened these. This is how easy these two nuts came out, and they do have Loctite applied. They're a little bit on the loose side. Just to verify again, this is the way I'm going to wind it on. I will need to wind it off, turning clockwise. I should be able to remove this quite easily because this is how easy it was on the other pedal. And there we go. So it does appear that this nut is not cross-threaded and I have really nothing to worry about. So that's verified that Magped actually haven't cross-threaded this nut, and I'm happy about that. And so I do have two spare axles now. I've just had a closer inspection before I put this back in down the shaft where the axle would go. And from what I can see, and this is good news where I thought there wasn't anything at all, there is, I think, a seal in there, but it's a bit difficult to tell. I'll put a screwdriver up there, but it must be very, very thin. But maybe there is a seal there before the bearing to give some kind of protection. But I went ahead and added this little rubber grommet, which will sit on the outside of the pedal axle, and because of the chamfer on this axle, it will try and squeeze itself up against the pedal, and of course it will wear out, but that should stop dirt ingressing up to the point of their rubber seal. See how that gets on. There is a possibility it might hold trap water, but that's the same for any seal. Once something gets past it, it's difficult to come back out again. So one pedal back together again, ready to go. Now let's have a look at those axles and see if we can see how straight they are. In my box of junk I have a spare axle. Well, it's a spare XT crankset, but just need this on. We're going to use this as the test subject. So again, like the previous axles, there is still a teeny bit of wobble in there. Now the reason I put my finger on the axle was to apply pressure, and that was to take up any slack in the thread. So that way it would always be pushed in one direction. But is this still acceptable on these category of pedals at this price? This is actually a little bit disappointing in my opinion, because effectively I've tried 5 axles. The original bent left-hand axle, which got replaced, and now that right hand axle plus 2 new axles, left and right, and they all have this micro wobble in it, and in my opinion they should be perfectly straight. So having looked at the pedals, my concern about that right hand pedal axle being cross-threaded is not an issue. As you saw then, when the lock nut is turned in the right direction, it does indeed unscrew with no problem. Now, in my very weak defence, when I saw the black nut on top of that shaft, I thought I was seeing a nut that had been forced onto the thread, causing it to overheat and as it cross-threaded down and discolouring it. But what I really was seeing was just a nut coloured black. So looking at the list of issues again, some of them can be disregarded. The concern about the axle seals is still a slight concern. They're not the most substantial. And as you can see, I've addressed them in my own way, that little extra grommet. See how long that lasts. So that's it. I have fixed my own Enduro 2 pedals myself. Would you ever have thought buying pedals would have been such a drama? As I said before, on the outside, these look like very nice pedals. But I do think they have quality control issues, and that slight wobble on all the axles I have is still present. And I expect a lot of people would not have noticed that. They would just have used it, none the wiser. Well, I mean, this saga only started because the left-hand pedal was noticeably bent, and it just started unrolling from there. If it was not bent, I would not have found the issues I've listed, and I would have quite happily fitted to the bike and been happy with them. And I would have returned to SPD pedals long before any issues became a problem. But these are very expensive pedals. Heck, I got far cheaper pedals with straight axles than these. If I knew all this in advance, given the cost, I would not have bought these pedals. I would have just used the pure flat pedals I got before I bought these ones. And thinking about it, why did I not just go with really loose clips, got in there with an Allen key and unwound them all, and then swapped all my SPD clips to multi-directional ones, and those ones allow your foot to lift up, which these will allow me to do, as well as turn sideways. That would have been far, far, far cheaper and easier and remain compatible across all my bikes and shoes. But I do have these pedals and I am going to use them. So, would I recommend these pedals to you? No. Just go for pure flats and save your money. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, then please do give it a thumbs up. This tells YouTube that you like this video. I hope to be back on the bike in a couple of weeks, starting with these pedals. And I will be making a longer term review on these pedals, seeing how they get on with my ankle. Did they help my ankle? Did they hinder my ankle? And basically how they got on in the wild. Did I get a shin full of pins? Does the mud weaken the magnetic attraction? Well, I've certainly got a very low attraction to these pedals. So to be sure not to miss that video and my other route description videos, hit that subscription button and turn on notifications. This year I do plan to make some bike packing, rafting adventure videos too, so look out for those. Keep well, keep safe, and I'll catch up with you next time.